Come on, baby. Come on. Going to the park with the dog. Ruby, we go to the park? Come on. Come on. Hey. I don't know if you're from the US and celebrate holidays, but if you do, happy holidays. Some people get upset when you say that now. They want you to say Christmas, but I don't even know who celebrates Christmas anymore. Hello. Oh, no viewers yet. Oh, we got 4 viewers. Cool. Hey, everybody. Happy December 25th. How about that? That's probably an appropriate thing to say to everybody. Ooh, nice to get outside. I just spent 3 hours and 15 minutes on the phone with somebody. If you can believe that, that's the longest phone call. That's my second longest phone call this year. I had one that was 4 hours and 10 minutes with somebody who was trying to explain to me why I should be pro-Israel. And I listened to every single word and disagreed with almost every single one, of course. But happy 25th to everybody. Yeah, do me a favor. Please tap on my head if you don't want to get some more likes in here. I wish I could do it. Probably not going to get a very big audience today, the 25th of December. I just got another community guideline violation for a video that I put up. It wasn't even my video. I just did a little intro to it, and then it was somebody else's video who I appreciated the video. It was a really interesting story about how the H group got formed. I think the reason it got flagged was I didn't spell the H group differently on the title, which I should have done, just being lazy. Anyway, I didn't know this story either, but there was three. This is going back to the early '80s. Uh, the Israelis were doing something in the Sinai, and they came back through Gaza on the way back, and they unalived in massive forms. I think they unalived like 40 total people. And across these three different places they did it. When the body piles fell, there were three individuals who didn't die. They kind of got stuck under the bodies. And they were so pissed off that their family and fathers had been, unalived, that they're the three people that founded the H group. And that makes sense. We've talked about this over and over again. But when you massively unalive a bunch of people, the children of those people don't just go, oh, thank you, right? It creates massive, hatred and anger. And why wouldn't it, right? So it's almost like if you watch what Israel's doing right now, the H group isn't a group per se, it's a mindset of resistance. And you can't kill that off no matter how much you try. You can unalive every single person in the current group, but that's going to come back. It's going to come back. Why does somebody keep saying KKK, Adam Pitt? That probably refers to the Ku Klux Klan, which is not something I want to be celebrating here on this platform. Why are you saying that, Adam? I don't want to have to mute you or any of that kind of stuff because I don't usually do that to people. But I certainly don't want to kick you off. But if you keep doing that, I'm going to have to. Just so you know. Anyway, yeah, I think the more you do the more pain you inflict on a group of people who are being oppressed, the angrier they get. I mean, why wouldn't you, right? I think anybody who's dealing with that stuff would feel the same exact way. I know I would. So yeah, I would like to say happy December 25th. So I don't want to offend anybody. We never know who we have on here as far as a mix of people and who does or doesn't celebrate stuff. So I know a lot of people get offended when you won't say those specific terms. I know in America there was a big backlash here. The term happy holidays was like, no, we're not doing that. And America, if you don't know, is a predominantly Christian nation. So it's pretty much the norm. But I don't celebrate, I don't know if you all do, I don't celebrate any American holidays or any religious holidays. Not that I have anything disparaging to say about anybody who does. And I did most of my whole life growing up. But I just kind of got to a point where I can't get my head around anything like that anymore. Uh, yeah, the more that I see, I mean, I heard there was another dropping of munitions in a heavily densely populated civilian area. I think it was a refugee camp, and something like 147 people. And this happened literally like 12 hours ago. So the reason why I don't like Christmas, just to let you know if you want to know why, in America it's become this symbol of consumerism. And even though I'm not a practicing Christian, I would think that if I was going to celebrate the birth of my Savior, that you'd want to do that and not buy a bunch of bullshit from China and from Walmart and give it around, and nobody even gives a shit about the stuff a day later. So that's just where I am. If anybody else, and somebody says, well, that's kind of, you're the Grinch, right? Don't be the Grinch. Whatever. I just, consumerism in general, I hate it. I don't even like being on this damn phone. It's unfortunately a tool that I can't do my thing without. But if I could do this without being on this damn phone, I'd chuck this thing in the river. No, I wouldn't do that. I'd dispose of it properly. But, I spend so much time on my phone now that I'm doing social media. I might have to take a break, like just have like a week off, because I swear to God, this is frying my brain. I mean, I love talking. I love talking with people and about important issues. But holy smokes, man! I looked at my screen time report for the week, and it said you were online for like 17 hours a day. That can't be healthy, right? That's not good. Hey, how you doing? Good to see you, Tia. Happy 25th to you, December 25th. It's nice to see everybody. I know this is going to be a smaller, abbreviated one because it is a holiday. A lot of people are probably watching NBA basketball or chilling with their families eating. I've spent my day, as far as physically involved, I spent the day with my wonderful dog and two cats. I was on the phone with some people for a while. But I'm not, this is kind of sad. I had a conversation with my mother yesterday, which we haven't talked in a while. And my family, and this, as much as you may enjoy some of the stuff that I have to say, my family cannot stand me. I mean, they literally think that I'm a brainwashed conspiracy nut. They're very liberal, which is okay. I don't mind people who are liberal, but they think that MSNBC is the gospel. They believe the American exceptionalism story. And, so be it. I've not been able to get through on any levels. I've kind of stopped talking about this stuff, and they just really don't want to. They don't want to be around me, quite frankly. So it's kind of sad, right? Not being in touch with your family, but like they say, you don't get to choose them, right? And quite frankly, I'm in a position in my life where I don't want to be silenced by other people because I've had situations where I've been sharing some information with one of my cousins. I mean, my nephew, actually my niece, because she transitioned, and I was told to shut my mouth. Shut your mouth. And then my sister came in. It's her child. She's like, stop spreading conspiracy theories. And all I talked about was the word narrative and what narrative means in terms of the media. And I was using Vladimir Putin as an example because there's been a lot of consternation about the Ukraine war between myself and my family. My mother in the kitchen one time says it's awful what they're doing. I said, well, yeah, war is horrible. I said, but I'm very surprised this didn't happen sooner, that they waited this long. And my mom says, oh, shut up, as if, don't say things that I don't like. And I'm like, Mom, if you study this thing, you'll realize what the context is around why they did what they did. I don't agree with going to war because war is horrible. But if you study the Ukraine war, if you study this conflict, think of what you've been told about Israel for all of your life, if you live in America or in the Western world. And then think of what you're seeing now and compare the two. That's a narrative. You've been given a certain narrative, which is what those in power want you to think. They want us to think a certain way because it benefits them to continue what they're doing, the status quo. But once you see through it, one of the videos I made was, do you believe the media or do you believe your own two eyes? Right? And so if you're seeing video of buildings coming down all over the place in a very densely populated area, bodies galore, all sorts of gore and unalivedness, what are you going to say? Are you going to say, oh, it's all just collateral damage, war, it's unfortunate? No, you're going to say these people are just indiscriminately dropping munitions left and right. There can't possibly be human shields all over the place. And what are you going to say to that? You're not going to say, I believe these Israeli spokespeople. You're going to say, dude, quit your lying. Quit your lying. You're not telling anybody the truth. We're absolutely horrified about what you're doing. You got to stop. So it goes to the UN for a Security Council vote to have a ceasefire, and the US vetoes it. And you're like, what the flying F? We live in a country, sorry about that. We live in a country that supports everything we're seeing, gives cover for the Prime Minister of Israel and all the things they're doing. And it's horrible. Like, how can you feel good about living in a country that supports mass red rum of human beings, little children, women, in mass, over 20,000, maybe a lot more. We're not really sure. Anyway, the whole thing has me so flabbergasted. When I did this interview on Turkish TV, a place called TVNet, excuse me, and by the way, I was up till 4 a.m. and the interview was at 8 a.m. Eastern time, and I was just absolutely just, yeah, you had to sleep much. My eyes were bloodshot. I felt terrible, but the person who interviewed me asked, how do you feel as an American being I'm a veteran. So I've been in a war, the first Gulf War for the United States. And, knowing the real reason for that now, you don't even like the fact that you did that. That was, we killed a lot of people, which is disgusting. And it's something you don't want to be a part of. But anyway, so the person asked me, how do you feel about the fact that your government is, and I said, it disgusts me. I mean, the fact that our, quote unquote, our financial system, the quote unquote, our tax dollars are being used to support the mass indiscriminate, dropping of munitions on densely populated civilians. It's disgusting. And it's further disgusting that our country has stood by for the entirety of the Israeli existence and supported what has been an ongoing process of dispossession of land and red rumming and destroying homes and pouring cement into waterways and cutting off water lines and burning down olive tree groves. And it just goes on. Administrative detention, checkpoints out the yin yang, humiliating people in their lives, making their lives incredibly difficult so they can try to get them off the land. That to me is disgusting. But unfortunately, it's not out of character for the United States. I wish it were, but so be it. So people are like, why are you so critical of Israel? Why don't you criticize the U.S.? I'm like, I do. It's just we're focused on this right now. I got to let my dog off the leash. Give me 1 second. Ruby, hey, Ruby, let me let you off the leash. Come here. Stay, 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 stay. Okay, just 1 second. I'm trying to do this without losing you all. All right, ready? Whoa, slow down, slow down. I got to take the leash off. Go ahead, go. There you go. Look at that dog go. Look at that. She's a happy dog. Anyway, hopefully, there'll be a ceasefire come around, maybe a little bit after, maybe the part of the new year or something. I think there's a lot of pressure right now. But man, I know if you heard this on Telegram, the Al Qassam Brigade had a Telegram channel. If you don't know who they are, they're like the primary fighting force of the H group. And they were posting body cam video of their engagements with the Israeli military, the ITF as I call them. And man, Israel's getting their butt kicked. I mean, like you wouldn't believe. I mean, badly. And the reason is urban combat is so hard. When I fought in my war, we were out in the desert. It was wide open. So we had a huge advantage. But as soon as you go into an urban area, you lose all your advantage. And the enemy has a huge advantage. They can snipe you. They can do anything they want because they can hide much easier, right? So the Israelis have been taking it on the chin big time. And I mean losing hundreds and hundreds of vehicles. Probably, I don't know the exact numbers. They're claiming only like 350 people have been removed. I think it's way more than that. So somebody says liar. So, maybe that's another bot. Fingirl, or whatever, 1323. Let me see how many people you have in let me see your account. See if you have any followers. I can't do that right now. Shit. Somebody look up Fingirl1323. Let me know if she has followers, because usually with these bots will come in, they have, no followers. So yeah, I mean, if you think, and by the way, if that is somebody who's real, come on up. Let's talk. Yeah, let's talk if that's what you think. So again, if you think that I'm lying, which is fine. Hello, Mason. How you doing? Hey, how you doing, doggies? Merry Christmas to you. Hey, little one. Yeah, fun place for dogs, right? So listen, everybody's truth is different, right? I think I did a video about this as far as the Israelis are concerned. Let me share it with you. I'll give you the summary. So this is a different kind of mindset. This is the hard thing to get your head around because I've had this conversation so many times. First of all, people are not giving the full truth from Israel. Okay, that's not their fault. Just like in America, a lot of people here don't have the full story. It's not their fault. They're living their lives, doing their thing. And the Israeli government goes out of its way to completely mislead its people. And they literally believe this story about human shields. They think that the H group is literally standing in the way of these people, putting them in a building and then getting crushed by that. And in addition, the people go, right? Then they go, it's unfortunate. War is messy, they say. Bullshit. The most organized force on the planet couldn't get somebody to all the structures that are being, munitioned. So anyway, it's silly. It's third grade bullshit. But there's Ruby. Go, Ruby. Um, it's silly. And so this is how the mind works in terms of Israeli leadership, IDF spokespeople, the folks in government. It's the objective truth has no place in the conversation. So, for example, let's say that Israel, the example I gave earlier, they go into Gaza, they get their ass whooped by the H group. They'll say, we were able to proceed this far into Gaza City and establish a military base of operations, right? That's what they'll say. Now, what do? They go into that area, they get their ass whooped, they withdraw, They tell their public they had a great round of fighting, and they say they did, and it's all lies. But you got to remember, they don't think of that as lying. They think of what happens to them is they think of something that's beneficial to their point of view, and that's the truth. And therefore, they emphasize that as if it's the truth. And anything that contradicts that or detracts from that truth is to be put down, marginalized, labeled anti Semitic. You tell somebody they love the H group, all that bullshit. And that's just garbage, right? That's no way to go through life arguing. But the problem is they can't win on the merits of the argument. If you analyzed it objectively and said, wait a second, you just administratively detained these 14-year-old kids in prison, you starved them, you beat them, or whatever you did to them. They had broken bones in the thing. They come back and they tell their story, and they're like, no, we didn't. These people are making this stuff up. Guy's got his arm is like dangling from his arm, right? You can't lie about that. That's what video shows, right? Nope, no, we didn't do it. So I did a video recently. I don't know if you saw it, but if you haven't, go check it out. It has an interview with somebody who just got released from Israeli prison. And you're going to be horrified when you hear what he said. Okay? I wish it were different. I wish that the way in which the Israeli authorities treated people was similar to how the H group, at least what we've seen so far, has treated those who have been released, right? It doesn't look like they've been hurt. They haven't been mistreated. They haven't been horrified. They certainly haven't been humiliated. Yeah, life's tough when you're hiding away. It's not easy, right? But it's better than any of the results you see from what we're hearing from people who have come back from this. And by the way, this administrative detention stuff that goes on, it's absolutely disgusting. Having fun. They'll bring somebody in and hold them for 3 to 6 months, and then they'll just let them stay there. No charges, no nothing. They stay in these horrible conditions. They're barely fed once a day if they're lucky. They live on these decrepit areas. Sometimes they put them in places so small you can't even extend your legs. Like little metal boxes. All sorts of horrific reports from these situations. And, that's just the cruelty and the mistreatment. It just translates over and over and over again. You see it in day-to-day practice vis-a-vis the occupation. You see it in terms of how they go in and, quote, mow the lawn in Gaza and prior things. Somebody says, am I a Democrat? No, I'm not a Democrat. I'm not registered. I think my last registration was at the Green Party, but I'm not involved in any electoral, retail politics anymore. It's a total waste of time. Unfortunately, I would love it more than anything if we could take our efforts to the federal level and get some redress for the problems we're experiencing. But you need to focus on them one time on your lives. I'm not sure what you mean, Fafa. You talking about the Democrats or Republicans? Yeah, I mean, if you don't know this, the Democratic Party now takes more corporate donations than the Republican Party does, and they're bad, right? We know from history they're basically total sellouts. So what does that say about the Democrats? They've abandoned the working class, and now they're doing the same bidding of the corporate class, the moneyed class, as well as the military-industrial / media thing, right? I mean, listen to that spokesperson, whatever her name is, somebody, Karine Jean-Pierre. I mean, she's a clown. She's never said a single truthful thing behind that podium, ever. I mean, she's just running cover, and they all do that, right? But I mean, she's especially bad. I mean, it had nothing to do with her ethnicity or her sexual orientation. I can give a shit about that. But damn, is she bad, man. She is horrible. But you shouldn't expect anything better than that. And you got that guy, John Kirby, who I think is the National Security Advisor spokesperson. I mean, talk about a song and dance, tap dance liar. And then you got Lloyd Austin, who's the Secretary of Defense. And look at that joke. You got this guy, Matthew, what's his name? That guy is the worst in the world. Talk about a guy who lies through his teeth. No, so the Israelis must have trained these people because these people are abject liars. They're disgusting in my view. All they do is lie, 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 obfuscate, lie. When they get challenged, they just say, we're not going to speak to that. We're not going to cover that. Next person. NSK44, Lori's asking, what did I lie about? So again, if you're somebody on here who disagrees with anything I'm saying, that's fine. And if you want, come on up and talk because I'm not gonna, lean into you or make you feel bad or try to mistreat you or talk over you like some people do. I'm not gonna call you any names. I've been on panels before, and I've listened to people who are pro-Israel just absolutely excoriate people. And the sad part is when somebody's talking with so much confidence and they're excoriating others, saying they don't know what they're talking about, 99% of the time it's the person saying that has no clue. They've been misled. They don't know the full context. They haven't spent the time to try to learn. Why would Jewish Israeli scholars who take the time to learn about the history and context of this conflict have a completely different point of view? Are they just out of their mind? Are they paid off by somebody on the Palestinian side, or is the H group funneling money from Qatar to them? No. They've taken the time to learn the truth. And the truth can be hard to deal with if you're somebody that's been brought up under one complete set of information your whole life, and then you learn something that contradicts that. That's not easy to take in, right? You realize your country's no longer the good guys. Your country's the bad guys, and they're doing horrible things. And that's called cognitive dissonance. When you get confronted with something that contradicts all of your views from your whole life, and then what do you do with that? So it's understandable that people are willing to reject that kind of stuff. I mean, one video I dropped today, very simple. Merry 25th to everybody. I said, you're either one of two people if you support Israel. You're either somebody who doesn't know what you don't know yet, you don't know what you don't know, in which case, here are two resources so you can know. And I gave Life in Occupied Palestine, and I gave Gaza Fights for Freedom. And then I said, if you're not that person who doesn't know, if you're not quote unquote ignorant, which is okay to be ignorant, you just have to learn, either you reject, you're not willing to learn, or you reject what you have learned because you don't care. That makes you evil. So if you still support Israel after you've gone through that learning curve, I think that makes you a bad person because you're just taking sides because that's your quote unquote team. And I don't do that here in America because it's wrong. And I don't think anybody in Israel should do that either. So again, anyway, and by the way, people say, why do you side with Palestine? What is it about Palestinians? I don't side with Palestinians per se. Anybody who's being exploited for no fault of their own, and someone else is maintaining a dominant position of power over them and doing all the negative things that are being done, I side with somebody who's being oppressed, not necessarily who's being oppressed, if that makes sense. So as I always like to say, people say, well, you must hate Jewish people. Nope, I sure don't. I went to the pro-Israel rally, for Christ's sakes. I went with a friend who's Jewish, who has 6 kids. And we went up, if I hated Jewish people, I wouldn't have been anywhere near that situation, right? That's crazy talk. The other thing is, I've gone out of my way to listen to other people. I spent 4 hours on a phone call one time about 3 months ago, just when this whole kicked off, or whatever. Maybe a couple days after, maybe 2.5 months, whatever that is, October 10th or so. And I listened to somebody for 4 hours who was extremely pro-Israel. And I learned some things about the way that people think about their point of view by listening, which I think is a good thing to do, right? Because you can't really formulate decent, well-thought arguments unless you listen first. And then when you're debating, you make notes of what somebody says, and then you come up with rebuttals or whatever, in fairness, right? Not in a mean-spirited way, just to, I don't like people who are disingenuous with how they communicate. And if you're overlooking certain facts and variables and you just make your point because you want your side to win, I think that's poor. If I can't substantiate what I'm saying, I'll say, hey, you know what? I can't overcome that. You're right about that, right? That's a fair thing to acquiesce to. But very rarely do I get that. I get general comments like you're an idiot or you're anti-Semitic or you love the H group, you love graping of women and kids being BURNED or whatever. And that's just deflection, right? That's deflecting. And the other thing is a lot of the comments I hear people saying that the H group did, it's projection. That it's indeed the Israeli military and the Israeli people who've supported somebody doing something, knowingly or otherwise, for decades. And if they don't know what administration intention is, shame on them. If they don't know what's going on in the West Bank, shame on them for not trying to figure it out. Everyone would say from Israel, everything was great on October 6th, and then they did this. No, everything wasn't great. It might have been great for you. You're sitting in Tel Aviv on the beach having a cocktail and dancing with your gay friends or whatever it is, and celebrating the fact that the rainbow flag can be posted on the beach. Meanwhile, you got people living behind a wall or blockaded in with very little control over their lives, or people in the West Bank being beaten to hell. And you know the whole story. It's disgusting. So there's no such thing as life being okay when you're the one with your boot on the neck of another people. That's not okay. That's not peaceful. That's a warlike footing you're on. And you expect somebody to sit back and take it? Let's go back to the original colonies. I talk about this all the time. Let's talk about the 13 colonies. You had colonists who were occupied by the British, who were brutal. They stole property. They unalived Americans. They took what they wanted to, when they wanted to, how they wanted to, from the native population, the Americans that lived there. So what happened next? Some people got really pissed. They didn't want to pay taxes. They didn't want to be occupied. They didn't want to have some foreign government or some foreign entity controlling their lives. They wanted to have self-determination and their own destiny and use their land and their property to the benefit of their people. They wanted independence. So what did they do? Well, not everybody. Some people were situated in such a way they didn't do much because they just didn't want to rock the boat. But there was a vanguard, a small number of very irritated and agitated patriots, very similar to a resistance group. Is this ringing a bell? So they decided to go in and do what they could. They used guerrilla tactics to go after the homes that had been stolen from them, and they'd go in, and it was not pleasant. They would sometimes break into a house or overwhelm them. They would unalive the women, the children, the men, the livestock, whatever, just wholesale damage. Why did they do that? They needed to send a message to the occupier that they're not going to stand for this craziness. So if you're part of an occupation force and these bad things are happening to you, you don't want to be in harm's way. I wouldn't want to be. And guess what the British called the people that did this stuff? They called them terrorists. Because the British were occupying them, they dared to fight back. And then, of course, because the British see this as, well, we're in charge, so how can you dare fight us? They call them terrorists. So what do you think when you hear the word? All you ever hear is, H terrorist, H terrorist. That's all you hear over and over again, right? But that's a misapplication of the term because they're a resistance group. Now, the tactics that they use, I don't want to do that. I don't want to see that happen. I don't want to see anybody get hurt who's a civilian. I've said that over and over again. But I understand the context in which someone might be willing to do that, just like what happened in my country for us to gain our freedom. It's a normal thing to want to lash out at something that represents your oppression. I think you're seeing some of that now, just in general Western society. People are really pissed. There's not much they can do. And yes, people will categorize that as anti-Semitism is on the rise. No, it's not. It's not about Jewish versus anything. It's upset with the behavior of the Israeli government. And unfortunately, people around the world who live, as a Jewish individual are unfortunately representations of what is happening. They may or may not support Israel, which is not fair to them if they don't, but many do. And they say they feel uncomfortable that they're being, people are having rallies and they call the, this is the crazy part, the protests, the gatherings of human beings who are totally disgusted by what they're seeing on TV. They are referred to by many in the Jewish community as pro-H group protesters. That's what they call them. They're not people who are against the G word. They're not people who are against the unaliving of tens of thousands of people and that they're not allowing them to have water and food and fuel and electricity and medical supplies so that all of them are absolutely getting destroyed. They say that the people who are against that, who oppose that bullshit, are the bad guys, that they support the behavior of this rogue sort of separatist and resistance group that doesn't represent the average person. Most people aren't involved in that crap. I'm not. I'm not happy with my government. I'm not doing anything like that. There might be people that do eventually. I don't know. But that's not my thing. Violence is violence, and I don't want to be a part of violence. And I think most people want to live their lives and just get through the day, right? They don't, just because there was an election, 17 years ago doesn't mean that your children who have been born subsequent to that weren't even alive when that election took place. How can they be held account and, indiscriminately BOMBED'd for that, right? So to categorize people as T supporters or H group supporters because they're expressing their total disgust with what the response has been, as disproportionate as it has been, is not an abnormal thing for people to want to do. Palestine has been screwed for so long. Let's face it, Palestinians have had the short end of the stick for probably the last 75 to 85 years, right? Pushed off their land, all the horrible things that have happened, all the pain and suffering that comes with that, the anguish. Why wouldn't they be resolute and want to push back? I would expect nothing less. That's why I think that the best thing Israel can do for their future safety is to allow Palestinians to have some dignity and self-autonomy and avoid the stress that comes with being under occupation and constant stress from this occupier, right? It just makes sense, right? The problem is you have a bunch of really greedy people who are hell-bent on pursuing their goals at the expense of another. And that's not unusual. It happens all the time in world history. We've seen it happen in so many different instances, but it doesn't make it right. And people will push back against my country and say, well, your country, you got rid of all the native people to have your country, right? Yeah, it's true. It happened 12 generations ago, 12 or 14 generations ago, if you count. So I can't go back in history 12 generations and snap my magic fingers and make it change. Now, could I move from here? Sure, I could move. Maybe that's the most consistent thing to do if you're living on someone else's land. I don't know what else to do except for try to speak out against something that's happening right now. I was born into this by no fault of my own. I didn't decide, hey, mom and dad, can you birth me into Washington, D.C. and make me live here? No, I didn't get that choice. It's a genetic thing. It's like a genetic lottery. And my thing came out here. But I didn't vote for that to happen. I didn't support that behavior, nor would I. I don't support any of the behavior my government's doing now elsewhere, which involves similar types of, disgusting behavior. I'm not down for any of that shit. Anyway, I could talk like this forever. Anybody in the queue? Nobody's in the queue. Anybody want to come up and talk? I'd love to have a conversation with somebody and let somebody else contribute if you want to, especially if you're somebody who disagrees. And again, I respect your position because I understand typically why that position is formed. But, I might disagree with it, and I'm going to do it in a respectful way. Hopefully, you can speak respectfully. Most of the lives that I go on are a joke. You have all people on one side saying one thing and nobody having polite conversation about it. And that's disappointing because you're never going to have any agreement if you're shouting over people or talking past them, right? So, hey, Adam, I've invited people up multiple times. It says this guy really loves the sound of his own voice. Nothing could be further from the truth, Adam. I try to get information out as best I have it in my head from the research I've done. I've been studying this issue for 34 years. So, somebody says they want to focus on Palestinian prisoners. Well, I don't even consider them prisoners. Now, there are some Palestinians that have attacked Israeli forces in like, for example, East Jerusalem. And so if somebody takes a knife and wants to fight back against the occupier, I understand why the Israeli government or military would want to arrest that person and basically punish them for that attack. I don't agree with it because basically they have a right to resist, but I understand why an occupying force would do that. But most of the people that are in Israeli custody are not there because of such things. They may have thrown a stone, which is no huge crime, or they may have said something to an occupying force member, or did something that they didn't like, or whatever, maybe gave them a finger or whatever it gets going on there, or was just in the wrong place at the wrong time. Those people are not prisoners. Those people are hostages. They're not. They didn't commit a crime per se. They were just dragged off by a group of people, and therefore they're held in administrative detention. They're terribly mistreated, and it gets renewed periodically at the whim of the Israeli system, and that's wrong. So I don't believe anybody should be subject to that. And the fact that listen, you have former IDF soldiers. It's something called breaking the silence. If you listen to what they say, you have pilots that talk about the raids they do. Very large Jewish community who agrees with me, that doesn't agree with me at all. They think that I'm an anti-Semite because I'm very critical of Israel. And it would serve me better if I just kind of played ball and just kind of went along with the flow. And business-wise, there are a lot of successful business people in my community that happen to be Jewish. And it would serve me better if I wanted to work with certain people. They're not going to want to work with me because I'm outspoken against what Israel's doing. So it would benefit me in so many ways to just basically S the F up and go along with the flow, right? But I have a conscience too, right? And I think if you have a conscience and you understand the full context of something, the only way to be reasonable is to speak truth to it if the facts indicate that. And if you can't work around the facts and you're going to let yourself believe in some sort of fairy tale, that's on you, but that's not how I'm going to operate. I may get in trouble for it. I may go to jail for it. I may get whatever happens, but I'm not going to back away from that. Somebody says it's choppy. I'm in a place where I'm doing the best I can with the connection. I can try to hold my phone up some, but yeah, the dogs are running around. So yeah, I'm down at the dog park. So hopefully, let me see if the Wi-Fi's on because anyway, I apologize if it's choppy. This is the best I can do. I'm out in a place where it normally works fine. Anyway, so if anybody wants to come up, I would love to speak with somebody. Somebody said this guy loves to hear his own voice. No, I really don't. I actually prefer to have conversations with people because it's more informative and more educational. Sometimes it gets a bit confrontational, and that's okay. But I just don't want to go into rudeness or personal disparagements like ad hominem attacks. That doesn't foster a dialogue, right? That's just kind of third grade bullshit. So, good. There's somebody in the queue. Okay, somebody is stepping up to talk. We have Gijnono. I don't know. I'm saying it wrong. Happy 25th to you. Oh, they popped out. Maybe they came up by accident. But seriously, if anybody else would come up, share your thoughts. Like I said, if you agree, that's fine. If you disagree, that's fine. By the way, I've had these sessions reported a lot, mass reported, and then it goes down in the middle, and then I have to what's it called? Appeal, and then it comes back up, 10 minutes later. My primary account, if you don't know, this is my backup. My primary account is still under a 1 week, flag suspension, whatever you call it, and it doesn't come up till Tuesday, tomorrow afternoon. I think it's like 3:45 p.m. is when it reopens. So I can't do my normal 12 to 2 because they've put me off for the 1 week. So I was talking to somebody today at length. I don't know if she's in here now, but it's somebody who's been very kind to me. And we had a nice long conversation about like where all this might go. Because when you're barking out stuff that's anti-establishment, some people don't like it and they're going to try to do what they can to, push it down whatever way they can. And that's normal. I expect it. Oh, Quinn the Eskimo's here. Let me see if Quinn's here. I think he saw me coming in. So I sent Quinn an invitation to come live with me. Hopefully he accepts it. It's got to be about 12 midnight there though. And so we'll see. I think Quinn's probably doing his own live right now with other people. Maybe he'll come on with us. We'll see. Anyway, if you don't know who Quinn is, Quinn the Eskimo is another big TikToker who has a very big following. Mine is like 100,000. His is like 350. And he's down in Cairo, Egypt. Okay, we have two people in the box. Now, if Quinn comes up as alive, it's going to knock people out, I believe. So we have, oh, here's Quinn. Awesome. Here he comes right now. There he is. Quinn.
Hey, what's up, buddy? How you doing?
Hey, I've been having a little holiday live here. We got a group of people, and I saw you up there. So it must be what, about midnight where you are?
Yeah, yep. It just turned midnight.
Wow.
I actually literally just got back on here for the first time in a couple of days, and I was like, wow, you were the first thing I saw, and so I thought I'd jump on and say hi, brother.
Yeah, thanks for doing that. And for those of you who don't know, Quinn, someone was asking, is this the guy who went to Gaza? Quinn was trying to get into Gaza like everybody else who's trying to help out, but everyone is having to sit by and wait for the crossings to open up, at least to the general public. So right now, the Rafah crossing is controlled inside of Gaza by the Israelis, and they're only letting certain amounts of vehicles come in and out. So it's way less than what's needed. So Quinn has a big following on TikTok and elsewhere, about 350,000 and counting. And he's a good guy that wanted to go down and help do what he could. So he's staging in Cairo with some people he's met up with, and they're trying to figure out a couple things like where they're going to help people give their money and make sure it's the right kind of person to give it to so it gets to people. And also just working on the actual logistics of what's going to have to happen once things do open up. And like Quinn keeps saying, it's going to be a long-term effort. It's not going to be the end when the conflict pauses.
Yeah, it's
That's
a
going to be the
marathon,
beginning.
not a sprint, man, for
Yeah.
sure. And that's continually like what we find is we start to invest. Everybody wants to say, oh, we're doing this, we're doing that, we're doing this, we're doing that, donate, donate, donate. But as soon as we find out like the real semantics of shit, it's like very few people have a long-term plan. And that's what we're looking for is the long-term sustainability plan. And it's slowly coming to us, and we're doing really well. We've figured out some interesting shit, Chip. I don't know if you know this or
Yeah.
not. And who knows? I don't know if this could get shut down by me saying this. I don't even know. I'm not sure yet. But
Okay.
like here in Egypt, there's two different kind of systems of power, if you will. One is the government, and one is the military. And so
Yeah.
we've recently got in with the Egyptian Red Crescent. We've gone through all their parameters and everything, and we're being vetted to go in and have full exposure to them to film everything. And at the same time, we met this new group, and they are going in through the military wing of everything, which is very, very interesting. And they're mostly
Yeah.
providing emergency aid, which is like they've got an incredible operation going on. Where they're finding out like right on the spot what the Gazans need, and they're literally getting it in, and it's getting in through different channels, which is very, very interesting to us. So this
Hmm.
is a new thing because up until now, what we found is that everything that's getting is basically getting in through the ERC. So this is a whole nother
Right.
avenue. So we're pretty excited to be able to offer, some information on all of the different avenues, both the
Can you
ERC
tell people what what does the
and
ERC stand for those who don't know?
the Egyptian Red Crescent. So basically, if you think about it in American terms, this is like the Red Cross, okay? And so everything goes through, the Red Crescent or the Red Cross fuel, right? So from Egypt to Palestine, you have the Egyptian Red Crescent, and then they hand off to the Palestinian Red Crescent, and like literally everything goes through them. So this was a nice turn of events for us to find out that there's also another way that is going
Hmm.
through and we're starting to vet that right now because we want to be able to offer all of the different ways to everybody, right? And we want to be able to just honestly just tell people what's going on here, what the truth is, what's going on here. So this is it. It's pretty interesting. We found a lot of information last couple of days. We also had a really big tragedy. I don't know if you heard Chip about Sarah, our
Yeah,
friend.
I did. That's horrible. She fell down
Yeah,
off a
it's
cliff
just
or something
been,
like that.
oh man, it's been so tough. So it's been tough, but it's also been inspiring. I don't know if you know the story of her. I don't think I've told it
Was
before,
she,
but
were you all traveling? She was traveling her husband in the back seat of a car at one point in one of your videos, wasn't she?
oh yeah, yeah. So I Sarah and her husband Ralph. were among my first volunteers who came to Cairo. So when I very first came here with, stars in my eyes, and I said, "Hey, I'm gonna get you guys," and I didn't really know how difficult that was. I was contacted by a couple named Isara and Ralph, and they said, "Queen,
Right.
can we come with you and do this?" And I said, "Fuck yeah, come with me! Like, buy tickets." And they're like, "We'll be there on Tuesday," and that was like 2 days later. And so we actually lived together for several weeks, really, in different places, and we worked together. She helped me build this whole group that I have now, this Project Humanity group. But here's the crazy thing, Chip. From the time that we came here, she thought she was going to die. Like literally, she said goodbye to her 5 kids when she came here, and she thought she was going to die. And she didn't know very much about Egypt and how cosmopolitan it was and whatnot. But it was so cute because she wore these boots every day. Remember her boots, dude?
Yeah.
Ahmed is here with me right now. She wore these boots because she had only brought one set of boots, and it was like to work in the rubble of Gaza when she got there. So every day she'd have like a nice dress on and her boots. And we would tease her all the time and say, "You're not going to die here. This is Egypt. Everything's okay. It's okay." I Sarah. But she really felt like this, right? And so, and Chip, she was literally my right hand woman. She went to all the NGOs with me. She documented everything. I mean, she was like our mama in the group, right? Just dropping love everywhere. And so at one point she said, "I feel like I really need to go to Mecca and I need to make my Umrah." And she's like, but I don't want to leave you guys. Like, I feel like you need me here. And we're like, "Sweetheart, we're good. We're good. You can take a few days off and go to Mecca. You should do it. Feels strong for you, right?" And so she went, and Ahmed is here with me. You know him. And she was asking him like, remember she was asking like,
Yeah.
"What do I wear? When do I wear it?" And
So to be able to
let
do
me let
Umrah-
Ahmed tell the story. Let me let Ahmed tell the story.
So to be able to do Umrah, she was asking where to get ihram, which is the white cloth that both the men and women wear when going to Mecca. Actually, I just remembered that. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's great.
Remember she was asking you about that?
Yeah, and the whole boot thing, I forgot that as well.
Yeah.
That's just that.
And then like, dude, she was filming everything everywhere she would go. And we would always be asking her like, "Why are you filming everything?" Because we struggle. I mean, even me, I'm a content creator. I don't film everything everywhere because I want to be with the people, right? And she was filming everything. We'd always ask her why. And she said, "Because I want you guys to remember my last moments." Chip, it was like, what the heck, dude? And then, so anyway,
Yeah.
so she went to Mecca. She made her Umrah. And then she contacted me and she said, "Quinn, Ralph has to go to America to sign some papers for his business." Ralph is her husband. I said, "No problem. Take a few more days, whatever. And then we'll see you in a couple of days, right?" And so they went to New York to sign the papers. And while they were there, they went on a hike. And during the hike, she literally fell off of a 100-foot cliff and died.
Wow.
And it was just like, wow, dude. Like somehow she knew it was like gonna happen. It was
Yeah.
just, and she brought so much love to our group, and literally built. She literally built, dude. Listen. All I have is a platform. I just open my mouth and speak. Sarah was like the is behind the platform, man. She like built everything that we have going at Project Humanity right now. We're in I think 17 countries. She built that. The minute I would start, someone would say, "Quinn, can you launch another country?" I'd launch it. The first message would be from my Sarah, welcoming people, just loving people. It was amazing. So pretty much we feel like everything we're doing right now is just going to be done in memory of her. She had such a heart, and she loved, and the crazy thing is, so Ralph, her husband, was at the top of the cliff. He didn't fall all the way down. He was secure, but he watched his wife at the bottom, still alive, for 3 hours, and he didn't know what she said. And we were able to find, there were 3 girls that hiked down there because they heard his screams. and we were able to find the girls, and he was able to have a FaceTime conversation with them to hear his wife's last words. But I'm sure without even knowing that her last words were like, I hope Gaza is free, because that's what she said every day. I mean, every day that I knew her, she ached incessantly for not only the people of Gaza, but for even for the animals of Gaza. She would walk with us from meeting to meeting through Maadi, and she would carry bags of food that she would collect from restaurants to feed the stray animals. That's how loving she was. It was amazing. So anyway, right? Did I summarize that well, my friend?
Yeah, you remember most of the stuff, man.
That's just so hard.
Once-
That's so hard to listen to. It's so sad. And then she had those premonitions of that's just amazingly bad, unfortunately.
You know, it's sad and it's hopeful in the same way.
Yeah.
It's sad and it's hopeful in the same way, because these things are supposed to happen the way they happen. And when people embrace their destiny, it happens, you know. And to some small degree, she was some mugger, I'm sure, because she literally changed so many hearts. Everyone that she came in contact with, she loved so deeply and so fully, that she changed so many hearts, particularly for this Palestinian issue. So it's pretty powerful stuff, man.
Yeah. I wanted to point out something to the crowd that people might know this. Maybe some of you do. Influencer Sean King, his Instagram account was taken down in the last 24 hours. So that was a big blow because he had put a lot of stuff up. He had a huge following. I think it was like 2.5,
Yeah,
3
we
million
need to
people.
keep
So
fighting for that for sure. Sean's a good friend of mine. He's a great guy. We need to keep fighting for that. Thank you, Chip, for bringing that up.
yeah, now there is. I messaged you on Telegram, Quinn, about something which I do want to have a private offline with you. So if you don't mind just checking that out and getting back to me when we can talk a little
Absolutely.
bit,
I'll try to do
I'll,
that.
that'd be helpful. But anyway, so yeah, it's always sad when somebody with a huge platform putting out, a lot of trying to inform the public as to what's actually happening, and then that, there must be something going on at the Zuckerbergers and all that Meta, Facebook stuff, Instagram. Who knows? I just call it shenanigans, and the shenanigans are all too present, unfortunately. So,
Shenanigans
anyway, for
sounds
those of
like
you,
a thing
just to let you
for
know,
it.
yeah, for those of you who don't know, because this is Quinn the Eskimo, because people hopping out of here. Quinn has a huge following, both on TikTok and elsewhere. He is a madman, nomad traveler who's been an influencer for some time, and he's down in Cairo, Egypt, with his little crew and trying to get into Gaza to do some good things. So, Quinn, the amount of love that you get from people is just, it fascinates me. I mean, I'm just amazed by the way you connect with people, man. You have just a special way about you.
Oh, thanks, man. You know, I just
Yeah.
love people, and I try to just ignore the haters and love the lovers. So,
Yeah. And somebody brought up a point in the chat, and I want to speak to this as well. Somebody said, hey, what about the 100 plus hostages? I'm assuming they mean the Israelis who are in captive. I feel for as much for every civilian, both those who are unalived or injured on the 7th, as well as those who are still being held on both sides, because there are many people that are under administrative detention for very little or nothing.
100%,
But
man,
yeah,
100%.
I'm very sympathetic to the families who must be angry because let's just say the policies of the Netanyahu administration have not been super duper sensitive to the lives and safety of those who are being held. So to that extent, I feel very badly, and I'm sorry that the families are having to experience that as well as the individuals in captivity. It seemed like on that day, the perception was the intent was not to go in and do all sorts of chaos. The intent was to go in with the expectation of using leverage by capturing certain people. They would be able to release others and do like a prisoner swap. And I think somewhere along the way, things got chaotic, like things often do. And I was in the military. I can tell you the best laid plans never work out the way you hope. And so I'm against
Right?
anybody who's civilian being harmed. So I think Quinn feels the same way.
Oh yeah, 100%, man. I know what that stuff's like.
And there's some people asking to come up. I think we have Ro who wants to come up, who's somebody who we've had a nice interaction with. So let me let Ro come up and speak with you, Quinn, or whatever she needs to say.
Yeah, sure.
Hi, Quinn. Nice to meet you. My name is Ro.
Hey, good to meet you too.
Good to meet you. I just wanted to talk to you. I've seen your name. I've heard your name a few times. I've never got a chance to speak with you before. It's nice to get a chance to do that.
Well, yeah, we get to do it now.
This is awesome. Um,
Yeah.
So I have a team of people. Right now it's about 70 people. Or we join on Discord and we organize, we brainstorm, we try to come up with new ideas and get some of the most brilliant minds together that we can, for this, for the cause for Gaza. Um, and one of the
Awesome.
things that, which I mean, I've been spending my last few days, we know people on the ground that we've come to know and love, and especially today and last night has been some of the hardest. One of the guys who's just an amazing, incredible person that I feel blessed to have met, was in a very dangerous situation and was begging me to come on live so he could say his last goodbyes because uh, I'll call it B-modding for the sake of TikTok, was so bad near him. Um, so it's been a rough day, but I'm running around. I'm trying to get the people who are willing to donate, to try to get some water to people in Rafah. And then I have another. It's actually a journalist's wife who has martyred. Her husband's martyred, and she's in North Gaza. So we're trying to coordinate with people in South Gaza to see who can receive her. I mean, we're just doing a lot. Um,
Yeah.
and the goal, after we achieve a ceasefire, it was at first after we achieve a ceasefire, was to get an organization started. And I might even try to get it off the ground earlier than that at this point, because of some of the things we're doing now just hasn't been effective enough. And we kind of need more of a foundation to do some of the things, some of the ideas that I've come up with. Um, I would love to connect with you if you don't mind following me. I feel like from what I've heard from you, it'd be great to collaborate with you and just get some of your input on things.
Yeah, I'd love to collaborate with you. I'll tell you, and I'll tell everyone else, the best way to collaborate with me is to just get into my Project Humanity WhatsApp group, where we have a bunch of different countries that are doing this stuff. And honestly, because I'm trying to build this group, I spend the most amount of time in there, and so I respond most quickly to messages in there. And this is a great group. And the nice thing about this is that you're not just getting in touch with me, you're getting in touch with like experts from all over the place that are
Quinn,
doing
what
stuff.
is
So we
WhatsApp
help
and
each
how
other.
do they access the group once they figure out what's so
So
WhatsApp is what?
WhatsApp, it's just an app, and unfortunately, it's by Meta, and it sucks. But whatever, we're fucking using it, man. We got to do it. So, but it's an app that I've used for many years while I'm traveling. And it's a very common app. It works in every country. So people communicate by it, and so I have a community that's built there called Project Humanity. And basically what we have is we have a bunch of different country groups that you can get involved in, where you can connect with people in your country and figure out how you can work together to do some of these
How,
things.
how do they how do they search, Quinn, if they download the app? How do they search for it? Just with that name, or how do they
Just
connect?
go to my link in bio. Just go to my link in bio. It's the first link on there. It says Project Humanity WhatsApp groups. Just click
Okay,
on
so
that.
just
Boom, you're
just
in.
to let you know, guys. So if you want to do that, if you tap on the box that Quinn is in, there'll be a way to get to his profile. And then once you get to his profile on TikTok, if you go below his name, there's something that says like link bio or something like that. Tap on
Yep,
that, and there'll be
that's
a link once it launches you there to click on to join the Telegram group. I mean the WhatsApp group.
Yep, that's it. It's very simple. So we have everybody should join three groups when they join. One is their country group, whatever country you're located in. The second one is the worldwide chat group, and that's where all of our people from all the different countries get to chat and we figure out stuff together. And then the third is the announcements group. So if everybody joins those three groups, boom, you're plugged in, you're ready to go. We will get to work.
Perfect. I'll do
Nice.
so. Well, thank you so much. And I just have one more question for you.
Yeah.
Just tell me way off or not. Do you have any idea if there is a possibility at all to help or just help anyone who needs to get out medically?
Yeah, so that's a good question, and we get that question a lot. And the answer is basically no. But however, we are working behind the scenes to do some stuff like that. I can't really say much more about the details, but again, what you have to understand is that we're here in Egypt, and we're in a military state, right? And so certain things happen the way they happen, and that's just the way they happen. There's nothing you can do about it. And everything uh, through the humanitarian sector goes through the Egyptian Red Crescent, which is the liaison to the government, right? So, in other words, we've got some very good contacts at the Egyptian Red Crescent. We're working very closely with them, but they can only tell us certain information that they're allowed to tell us. And part of the stuff that is where we're unable to get information is specific things about people who have been able to come over here for medical treatment. Now, with that said and done, we have I've been kind of pushing them a little bit, and I've said, listen, we have people who want to help these people. Help us figure out how to do that, right? So we are working on an avenue where we can set up a certain fundraiser that would be able to help these very specific people. But we would not be able to know who they are specifically. In other words, there's a security precaution.
That's actually a rule in all the crescents around the world.
So yeah, exactly. This is a rule in all Red Crescents, as Ahmed said, and all Red Cross, everything. So there's some security stuff here. We have to work through it, but we are working on that stuff. And I encourage anybody to just be in touch with us about any specific cases you may know about. But yeah, we are working with that to try and figure it out.
So how can I reach things like that? Is it go?
I'm sorry, you're breaking up. I didn't hear you. Could you say that again?
I was saying, how can I reach out to you directly about those cases? Is TikTok
Oh, hit
okay?
me on, yeah, hit me on WhatsApp. And Chip has my WhatsApp, or you can go to the WhatsApp community and then join through there, and then you can find my specific WhatsApp. Yeah, absolutely. Just reach out to me there.
Are you
Okay,
still
perfect.
checking are you still checking your email nowadays, or is that too blocked out?
Honestly, I'm trying, bro, but it's like it's gotten crazy. I I
No
I,
worries.
I hit it every couple of days.
Okay.
Yeah, it's
Okay,
just
great.
gotten
Yeah,
too nuts.
let's hope we can help some of these people who need it desperately. I mean, I know the humanitarian side of this has gotten to a point where it's really significant. So,
Yeah.
wow. Okay, thanks, Ron. Appreciate you coming up. Okay, somebody's been waiting patiently here. Just Diamond, did you want to say, Diamond Soul, do you want to say anything?
Yes, thank you so much, Chip, and good evening to you, um, Kuan. Firstly, I would just like to say my condolences to you and Rauf on the loss of Isera.
Oh, thank you. Yeah. She'll be much missed.
Yes, I know, because the two of you were like, so close. So, Kuan, I've been following you just a little bit before you went to Gaza, Egypt, on your way to Gaza.
Mhm.
And I don't know what it was, but something just told me, hey, you know what, stick with this guy, listen to this guy. He's unorthodox. And so I
Well,
did.
cool.
And I must say, Chip, it was a sort of a domino effect, really, because having listened to you and following you and your story and on how you were just inspired to do something out of nowhere, being an atheist man, something stuck a chord with me. And I started following that and really listening to that because, something speaks to your spirit and you listen. And you don't know why, but you just listen. And so through you and listening to you, I met Mansoor. I then became very well acquainted and started working with him. As in, I'm South African, right? Um,
Oh, laka laka.
yeah, baie lekker.
I
Okay, so
love it. One of my favorite countries that I lived in.
thank you so much. But so the thing is that I have the opportunity to work closely with him, sharing information, editing of videos, editing of information, and so on, and just distributing and getting in donors
Absolutely.
and so helping from my side, and I felt like, wow, through Quinn, following Quinn and Quinn's advice of just following your spirit, following your intuition, led me to Mansoor. I then, through Mansoor, met a bunch of other people online through Twitter and such that really became my soul family because I think
Oh, wonderful.
an entity trying to dismantle a people sort of unified the whole world in one
Yeah,
cause.
that's right.
And yes, and so I feel like now that I'm exploring my humanitarian side, and I'm really starting to help people and speaking to radio stations and speaking to people in TV and speak. I was like, I never saw myself doing this, but okay, yeah, I
Beautiful.
am.
Beautiful.
Simply because I listened to you and your message about follow your intuition. I don't. It's like you said, I have no means. I just have the intention, and I don't know how I'm going to
Yep.
do it, but I'm going to do it. And that very first live that you had with Mansoor, I was there and I looked at this guy and I was like, okay. And I listened and I listened. And here I am working with Mansoor, listening to Chip every day and following Chip's advice and finding more people like Chip. And when I tell you the impact that people like you and Chip and Mansoor and other like-minded individuals have had on my life and so many thousands of other people, you can't place a value on it. It's really just it's miraculous, right?
Oh,
I
laka
can't I
laka.
can't tell you. And one real miracle I can tell you is that um, following an atheist man and his advice has deepened my own spirituality in Islam. That's crazy, I know, but it has happened that way.
Oh, it's not
And
crazy. It's wonderful. Good job. That's what.
I
That's awesome.
so
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 that's
I,
what you are.
I just find that an absolute miracle. And so sort of when you're standing in the space of an answered prayer and you become aware of it, that in itself is a miracle. So I wanted to thank you, Chip, people like you. It's just amazing. I don't know how. It's like, when you follow a calling and you don't know where you're going and what you're doing, but you just know that you need to go and do that. And suddenly things just, the road appears as you step.
Yeah, yep. Exactly.
Good point.
You know?
Great points. Well, thank you so much for coming up and sharing that. This is a really special thing
Thank you
to
so
share.
much.
Take
Wonderful.
care.
Thank you.
Quinn,
Thank
Appreciate
how
you.
are
you.
you? How are you on time, Quinn? Are you you got to go, or can you stick around for a
Oh,
bit?
we're fading fast, but we're okay. It's 12:30 here, so we're doing all
Nice.
right.
So as soon as you feel like you got to go, just let us know. We've had somebody waiting for
Oh
quite a
yeah,
bit
we
here. We
will
got
for sure. Yeah, man.
Peace and then Alejandro. So let me go Peace
Hey, and by
first.
the way, I've got my friend Ahmed here, who is a local Egyptian, and many of you know him. So if you want questions answered from him, that's even better than from me. So
Okay. Peace. You have anything you want to talk to Quinn about? Peace. Are you there? It's your turn. Doesn't always work out that way. Let me put Peace on hold. Let me bring up the next person was Alejandro. Let me see if Alejandro has something to say. I'm sure Alejandro will. How you doing, friend?
And Mr. Quinn,
hey, what's going on, Alejandro?
you right away before you went to Egypt, and I really desperately wanted to be in the same boat with you, in the same airplane. I mean, I really would have wanted to, but my economic pocket wasn't in the greatest, right? And
Please.
my condolences to your friend. He also had the same mentality as me and you and Chip and Eric Warsaw. You guys know about Eric Warsaw. He was
Sure.
live last night, and he was showing the hospital outside of the people in tarps and the drones, and it was just awful. You know, Christmas right around midnight, and the psychological effect that those drones all night long, morning, you know, and just awful. I'm pretty sure there are thousands of us that would think alike, even being atheists that I am myself. I felt no Christmas. I felt no desire to even be with family, you know, just thinking of what the people are going through, you know. More than 20,000 in 77 days, 76.
Yeah, it's
And
hard to celebrate
it's
for sure.
I just don't know how the whole United States probably felt bad also. At least I'm thinking at least 3/4 of us, of the whole United States and the world. But it's just been an awful year, man. You know, at the end of the year, all this, and it's just awful. So anyways, I wanted to ask you, Chip Barnes. Thank you, Mr. Quinn, for a great job you're doing. I wish I could be there with you. Chip, the gathering, it's January 13th, right, in Washington, D.C.?
Yeah.
Yeah. What organizations are there's a couple of them here in Chicago, right? I wanted to know if what organization, if they are like gathering some buses that are going to Washington, or we are all like find our way there by bus, train, or airplane. I don't know if there's a group in Chicago that I could probably link up with to see if they got, like, you know, a couple of buses heading that way, or I just find my way there. I don't know how that, if there's something going on like that in Chicago.
I would just, I would do this typical Google search and just say Chicago, December 13th, DC protest, and see what comes up. I'm sure there'll be some groups that are working on some sort of transport.
Yeah. Because are you going to assist or not?
Oh, I'll be there for
Are
sure.
you,
I mean, what
oh,
I did
you,
last time was, I scheduled a meetup with a bunch of people at one of the metro
oh,
stops to go in. So,
okay.
yeah, I'll be there for
What
sure.
time is it in the, I don't know. I'm in Chicago. I think it's Central Time.
I think it's
So
12. The last one was 12 noon, so I'm assuming this one will be the same. So I'm going to be in DC about 10:30 a.m.
about 10:30 a.m. Okay,
Yeah,
I'm gonna try to be there.
yeah.
Definitely.
Just
Because I
remember,
was at the one in Chicago
yeah,
on Michigan Avenue.
yeah,
And, you know, I just had to go. And I was there, and it was just beautiful. Just the people, you know, screaming out, and it was just, it was beautiful in a way. I've seen the people fighting for their people, you know, a struggle,
yeah.
and I felt part of it because I've been looking at this atrocity since I was probably like 10 that I can remember on TV, and then as years went by, you know. It was always the same thing: taking over these people's land, putting them in jails, bar wire walls, like a prison camp, and it was just always been awful.
Yeah, I
So I
agree.
always cited somehow in another life I must have been Arab, because since I was a little boy, I always felt that I was Arab. I don't know why. You know, when I listen to the languages, Arab countries, I can understand a lot of it without even studying the language. You know, I can associate it with a
Interesting.
lot of Arab countries. I don't know why, but it's a spiritual thing, right? But yes,
Yeah.
I don't know if you if you follow also Eric Warsaw.
I do.
Do you? Oh yeah.
Yeah,
And
I'm a regular guest on his live.
there's another kid on TikTok. There's another TikTok that posted today that TikTok had already closed his account. I wonder if they're gonna also try to do it to you, Chip and Quinn, and all the rest that are doing.
Yeah, it's possible. I want to be able to respond for some reason. I don't know. Can everybody hear me? Because Alejandro didn't hear me. I want to just do a mic check. Eric. If you don't know who Eric Warsaw is, it's spelled WARSAW. Eric has been doing a live program where he has 6 guests at a time, each of whom gets a turn for 2 to 3 minutes, depending upon how busy it is. Thank you for the mic check. And if you haven't visited Eric's live, I strongly suggest you do. First of all, Eric is a very, very nice person. Secondly, he does a really good job at monitoring and moderating a sometimes a very contentious panel. Let's see. Yeah, someone just typed in Eric Warsaw. Let me see if I can pin that. Nah, let me see if I can pin that. Nope, I can't pin that. But anyway, so it's Eric ERIK, and then Warsaw WARSAW. You can probably look him up on the. If you Google his name and type in, Eric Warsaw TikTok, it'll probably come up with the exact username. But anyway, so yeah, I would strongly suggest you check out Eric's show. I really enjoy Eric, and he's always been very nice to me. So, all right, let me get Alejandro back. And Alejandro, we got 3 other people waiting, so please finish what you'd like to speak about. Let me see if his mic is unmuted. All right, it says I can invite you to turn on 30 more seconds. I don't know why it's doing that, but we have a couple people waiting. Alejandro, I'll tell you what, thanks for coming in. I really appreciate your voice. You're always a very nice man to be here. I appreciate you. Thank you for contributing. I don't know if you're really Arab or not. Somebody said take a DNA test, so maybe you are. Who knows? Maybe there's a mix. Okay, let's bring in our next guest. We have Susanna. Actually, G Genono has been waiting from a long time ago, and then I'll bring you on, Susanna, if G Genono comes through.
Hey, Chip, can you hear me?
Hi. Yep.
Hi, everyone. I would say Merry Christmas, but it's just not.
Yep, I think we may have lost her. Just so you know, for guests, the best way to come on is to either turn your camera on and press save if you're okay keeping it on. You can even point it to the floor. Or if you come to the live, turn your camera on, hit save, turn it off, hit save, then it should keep you on. Sometimes it'll kick people off.
Am I still here?
Now you're here, but did you hear what I was saying while you were doing whatever you were doing, or no?
Yeah. So let me figure out how to do that.
If you just tap at the bottom, there's a place where you can bring up your camera settings and your audio settings.
Alrighty. Hi.
As long as you say, you should be good once you save your image. So please continue.
Okay. So I was going to ask you if you heard that they killed the Israeli, the IDF killed one
Try
of
to say
Iran's.
Try to say unalive. We're trying to avoid keywords. So you have to say unalive, age group.
Gotcha. Yeah, sorry.
Please.
Unalived, one of the top generals of one of Iran's armies or their side armies, or I'm not sure who he was with, but now Iran is vowing to take revenge.
So this was a targeted assassination of an individual higher up in the Iranian military?
Let me.
Doing it again. I tell you what, the best thing to do, if you can hear me, Jeej, that's it. That's very interesting information and very breaking. The best thing to do, I can share, I've done this before, go ahead and exit TikTok, come back into TikTok. My ID is TruthSeeker670. When you come back in, I'll pick you up if you come back in. A lot of times spotty connections can be fixed by that. Okay, we have Susanna. We'll bring up Susanna before that and hopefully get Jeej back in. There we go. Hello? Are you there?
Yes, I'm here. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you for you bringing me here. You hear me?
Yes, I do.
Oh, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Free Palestine. My condition to my friend Keen, who he's a great man. I like his what he doing, and I post all his video. I really appreciate what you guys you doing. I'm proud of you for humanity. Thank God everybody open mind to see what's going on for 75 years. Do you hear me? Sir, you hear
Yes.
me?
Hmm.
Okay. You are excellent. You love animals. Oh, so great. I love that. So, in Arabic, تحيا فلسطين حرة أبية. شنو غنقول لك؟ عاش الشعب الفلسطيني الحر. الله يحفظ كل واحد. هذا ما غنقول. That's what I'm gonna say. Protects people from Palestine, from evil people, the killing people, murdering people for many years. And matter of fact, other people didn't see it. You guys, do you hear me? I speak perfect English.
Yes, we hear you.
Thank you, sir. I really appreciate it. You're excellent people. You're showing the humanity for people. And this is not right what occupy people, what they doing for all those years. You know the history better than me. I know the history because I'm Arabic. So, I mean, I understand, but my English is not perfect. But I'm trying. I like the king. He post everything. I post his video. I really am sorry what happened. His friend. Really, Allah yarhamhum. Do you
Yeah, thank you for
understand the
saying that.
word rahmatullah alayhum? God bless them. Ma'am, you know, this is what we can see, you know, in our language, you know. Everybody has mercy. If someone believe it, God no believe God, we are human. We are human. Humanity, a top for everyone. We are human. You should know anybody to be killed for because they are the top people. They are the best people because told him God. That's not right. I don't agree with that. So I cry everything for the children, for animals, for anybody died there. I cry every day, every
Yeah,
day,
it's
every
sad.
day. Very sad, and the rest of the world, they are quiet. They don't care. Merry Christmas to everyone. Merry Christmas to Arabic, Palestinian, to Egyptian, to Syrian, for all the world. And the guy, he say he's Spanish. I am Moroccan. I am Andalus. We are one family. We are humanity. People Arabic look like you. My grandfather, he has blue eyes. We are mixed. We are people. We are one people. Why you should be like that? Why you should be like that?
Yeah.
It's very sad. It's
Hi,
very sad.
Susanna. Thank you so much for
Thank
coming up.
you.
Really,
Thank
really
you so
appreciate it.
much. I
Stay
really
safe.
appreciate.
Yeah, that's it is very sad, right? I think a lot of people are feeling that horrible, just shock and sorrow and grief. And yeah, I mean, if you think about it, we are really the same. Everybody just wants to be happy and peaceful and get through the day. And it's unfortunate that these things get in the way, right? A lot of conflict. And a lot of it doesn't have to do with the everyday people, right? A lot of it is the governments or other political situations that come into play. So this conflict has been particularly hard to watch for all the years that I've been following it. And the situation for the Palestinians has only gotten more difficult and more filled with grief and pain and suffering as time has passed. And you know, the people you have to hold responsible for that are the people that are pushing for the political settler colonial ideology, which has nothing to do with Judaism, has nothing to do with being Jewish. It's a mindset, and it's a willingness to dispossess other people and treat them as less than for decades, and to see them as sort of, you know, somebody who's a squatter in their land. And I think that's really a shame, and I'm very critical of it, as I think criticism should be, you know, put towards it. But there are many who espouse that belief system and look at it as long as they are getting the benefit, they're not worried about who gets harmed along the way. And I think that's bad. I think that's a bad way to be. I did a video about that today, and I said in the video, you know, there's two types of people who support Israel. There are those who don't know what they don't know, which is understandable. And then I provided a couple resources for them to become aware, which is Life in Occupied Palestine, which is a free documentary on YouTube made by a young Jewish American woman who went there to find out if all the things people were saying about what happens in the occupied territory was true. And she came back and talked about her experience. And you'll see if you watch it what she had to say. And it wasn't very flattering. And the second resource I share is called Gaza Fights for Freedom. And that's done by independent journalist Abby Martin. And so, you know, if people are willing to pursue information that will round out their point of view, then I respect people like that. And so there's two types of people, those who just don't know any better, and they're supportive because they don't know. And they're those that aren't willing to find out, or they have found out and they just don't care. And I think that makes those people pretty evil. Because if you're willing to look the other way at people being destroyed and hit with munitions and having massive segments of densely populated civilian areas come crashing down with the obvious side effects of people not surviving it, just because you want to root for one team or the other, that's pretty sick, no matter who you are. And no matter how you look at it, no matter who the parties are to the conflict. And yes, I can understand the outrage and the unexpected nature of what happened on the 7th, and the fact that you're enraged that something happened to your country and your countrymen and women. That obviously is something that most of us don't support. But again, getting back to the historical context, and I wish there wasn't a but there is a but, just like Secretary General of the UN, Antonio Guterres, said, which also enraged a lot of people, was that this attack did not happen in a vacuum. And what he means by that is that the broader context within which the attack occurred was one of ongoing occupation, military occupation, a rather brutal military occupation of the West Bank, with, again, watch that documentary, Life in Occupied Palestine. It details most of what goes on and has gone on for decades, and how people's lives are adversely affected by what the Israeli government and military chooses to do to Palestinians that isn't even necessary to maintain security. It's way more, it's unnecessary, it's humiliating, it's taking away people's dignity, it's taking away their livelihoods, it's taking away everything about their lives to make them as miserable as possible, unnecessarily so, which just breeds anger. But then you have a blockade, a brutal and oppressive and crushing blockade. By sea, the Mediterranean Sea is blockaded by the Israeli Navy. By air, there's no airport in Gaza. It was bombed by the Israelis and destroyed, as was much of the infrastructure that would allow Gaza to function, much like the societies that we're used to being in. The Israelis have bombed those water treatment facilities, water desalination stuff. They've bombed everything and anything they can to make life impossible for Gaza. And they control everything that goes in and out of it, as far as above ground through the different, the port at Rafah and also the port in Israel. They control everything. So how can those people have any kind of a dignified life? What do you expect somebody to do? As I would say, would you sit back and just take it? People from Israel have said that on this October the 6th, everything was fine and there was peace. And they chose, quote unquote, they, meaning the H group, chose to break that peace and come in and do harm to our people. Well, that's one way to look at it. That may be the way you look at it based on what you've learned, but that's not the way most people who understand the broader context look at it, like Secretary General Guterres. He said that it didn't happen in a vacuum, and that's what he's talking about. You can't expect to keep your boot, figuratively, on the neck of another people indefinitely and mess with them indefinitely and make their lives miserable and expect them to sit back and take it indefinitely. And if the tables were turned and it was a Arab state of primarily Arab Muslims who forced Jewish families out of their homes and off their land and dispossessed them and made them refugees, I guess much like has happened to Jewish people in the past, which is horrible. How is that any different here? Why is it okay when there's establishment of a Jewish state, which I think having a safe place for Jewish people to be free from oppression is a good endeavor and a great outcome, but at the expense of whom? Right? At the expense of whom? And whenever you do something where you win and they lose badly, you can't expect to have a good outcome long term, because it's not fair. And this is a great example of that. And what Israel has done over the decades I understand their point of view, but I also understand why Palestinians would resist that because they're on the losing end of a very bad deal. So what do you expect? What do you expect to happen? Maybe you just don't know any better. Maybe you're in Tel Aviv having a good time thinking that life is swell. You're on the beach, living a very nice lifestyle. And meanwhile, just 30 or 40 miles away is somebody who's suffering dearly under the oppressive force of your military. And you may not even know about it. And whose fault is that? Maybe you can blame the Israeli, propaganda system. There's that. But we all have to figure out what's going on for ourselves. If you really care, you do the work necessary to figure stuff out, right? Somebody says Meta deleted Sean King's account. Yeah, we talked about that earlier in the broadcast. But for those of you who don't know who Sean King is, Shaun King, he's a very, very influential influencer who's been involved in the Black Lives Matter movement prior to this conflict and has made a name for himself. He has a large following online, and he had a very big following on Instagram. And he was advocating and basically promoting and putting out a lot of the outcome imagery of what's been going on during the conflict, all of every last little, horrible detail to look at. And of course, that's not something that the Israeli or US establishment wants to be put out there because the public sees it, has very strong emotional reactions. So I guess up to a certain point, they allowed it to go on, but at this point, they just deleted his account. So you can't find him there anymore. Now, I will say this, okay? Just like I talked about Fiona Ryan. If you don't know who Fiona Ryan was, she was an influencer who got arrested by the UK government. And I jumped out there and said some things that I wasn't aware of, and then I had to kind of draw them back because of some things people told me about. Well, it's no different with Sean. And I try to be fair in every situation and try to be, without being mean-spirited or unnecessarily, jabbering. But there have been many concerns raised about Sean, about how he has raised money or conducted different things throughout his advocacy work, such that many people have alleged, I don't have any of these facts verified because I always try to put a caveat on things I'm not aware of, but many people have alleged that when raising money for different victims of police violence or whatever, or even in this case for Palestinians, I don't know the specifics, that some or a lot of that money didn't make it where it was supposed to go. There was a situation where he was selling hoodies, and a lot of people paid to get them. They were like pre-orders and they didn't get them. Stuff like that. I don't know the details, but just like with Fiona, usually where there's smoke, there's fire. So I never want to be, quote unquote, involved in anything or anybody who's not doing the right thing in terms of integrity when it comes to fundraising. I think that's a bad thing, right? So I'm always very open and honest when it comes to, sunlight is the best remedy for that kind of stuff. Somebody says, how did I get back online early? I didn't, Jeff Jones. This is my backup account, which is TruthSeeker670. My primary account, which is ChipBarnes67, is still offline until tomorrow around 4 p.m. Eastern time. So I'll probably do an announcement video tomorrow saying that I'm going to do my live, which normally is scheduled for noon. I go every Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday at noon to 2 p.m. But of course, tomorrow, because of that, I'm going to be going live a little later than usual. And then, of course, every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, I go live at 8 p.m. to 10 p.m. I'm working hard to try to get my internet upgraded because it takes a lot of bandwidth to drive the stuff up. Most of the internet connections on most of these places, the download speed is much faster, the upload speed is slow. So for me to get this up to the audience, I'm trying to get like 5 or 6 different platforms on my lives, but you need a big internet connection. It says Greg Stoker is coming to Telegram Chip. Greg is the one I listen to because he tells the truth. I've not followed Greg. Maybe I know who he is by just seeing him, but I'm not sure who Greg is because I don't remember exactly. So that'll be interesting enough. Somebody you think is good. So somebody says Chip is the one I listen to because he tells the truth. I don't have a monopoly on the truth, right? I don't think any of us do. I think all we can do is make a good faith effort to dig, learn, compare, contrast, and then draw the most objective, logical conclusions that we can, or if we can't, put that out there as well. And as things change, as you learn more or bump into different things, you hopefully shift what you share with people accordingly, right? Or you put it out there for the audience to talk about, and you kind of, you know what I mean? It's just, it's a matter of just being fair, right? And I really try. I think the one skill that I do have, I don't have a lot, by the way. I mean, I play a little guitar and stuff like that. But one thing I've done is I'm able to take a lot of information that I've kind of traversed the information landscape and listen to a lot of different points of view, and then kind of distill it down and then be able to share it back in a way that I think people can learn from. And I think that's what I want to do more of, because I think it's something that's helpful. But to do it on a broader scale, when you're just one person, you have to kind of get your act together and get all these other things done. So it's work, and it's work that's being done, but it just takes time. So I'm trying to put that together. And for example, YouTube and Rumble, I mean, I have a very minimal presence there, but I'd like to do more there, because you can do the longer form stuff there, as well as more, sort of spiff it up a little bit. Really, what I've been doing, just to let you know, is I told somebody today, I just come on to TikTok, I create something, and then I put it on Instagram, I put it on Twitter or whatever, and that's about it. So, by the way, if anybody here is good at social media stuff, I mean, obviously I'm 56 years old. I just started 2 months ago, so I'm kind of clueless. But if you know somebody who's good, or you're good, reach out to me. My email is just chipbarnesonline@gmail.com. Real simple. So I'm happy. And if you have any suggestions too about content you want me to cover, or suggestions about how I do things or whatever. I even had somebody come on here and give me some advice. Her point of view was, and this is okay, she said that I was, quote unquote, mansplaining things to people who came up on my show. I'm not really sure about that, but that's how she felt. And then she also felt that I had called Elon Musk a good guy at one point in one of my lives. And I don't recall saying that. I don't think I would ever say that, because I don't believe that. But I think he's an interesting guy. He's obviously had a lot of success financially in terms of the work he's done. But good is a term that I wouldn't use. It's like a value judgment about him. And I think that, like everybody, he has some good things, and he also has a lot of bad things. Yep. Yeah. I mean, I don't remember calling Elon Musk good, because I don't think he's good. If you study Elon Musk's path to where he's gotten today, it's fraught with a lot of things that are very concerning. And you can look it up on YouTube, and how he got into Tesla, how he got into SpaceX, how he got into all this stuff. It's dubious, right? Very dubious. But I'll leave it at that. I don't want to say anything disparaging. Yeah, thanks, Suze. I don't celebrate the traditional American holidays, so I don't do Christmas or Thanksgiving or Halloween or any of that stuff. But it's just another day in the world for me. But thank you for the nice words. So, does anybody want to come up and talk for a little bit before we close up? Because it's about 6 o'clock, and I don't know how much more. I've kind of let out of the bag what I wanted to talk about. Yeah, Halloween can be fun. You're right. I mean, it can be fun to go out, get dressed up, and do stuff like that. But yeah, you too, SMA. Thanks, everybody. Let me see how hungry the dog's getting, because I didn't feed the dog this morning yet. She's probably really hungry. So if there's any other thing you want me to talk about, I mean, the terrible thing I saw today, I saw some news that the Israeli military had dropped a massive amount of munitions on another very densely populated neighborhood, and somewhere between 120 and 145 people had been unalived, which is a massive number for a single set of strikes. But it's just more of the same, it never seems to change. There's the doggy. Ruby, people want to say hi to you. Look, there you go. Hello. Hello, doggy. I got her some treats from the store yesterday that she absolutely loves, so she's very happy to be having those. But yeah, I mean, if anybody has any questions or wants to come up, I can do that. Otherwise, I don't want to keep everybody from their families and stuff like that. So I think there's a lot of sports on too. I don't have TV, but a lot of people like stuff like that. Yep, she's a cutie. She's a really good girl. Such a sweet dog. Aren't you a sweetheart, right? You're a good girl. Say hi to everybody. There you go. Happy holidays to Ruby. All right, everybody. It's been fun. Like I said, let me repeat my schedule. Obviously, I was not even going to go today, but I thought I'd do one because Quinn was able to get on. So unexpectedly. Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 8 to 10 p.m. And then Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, 12 to 2 noon. And that's all in Eastern time. And it's all here on TikTok. And if you haven't done so already, I have something called a link tree in my bio. So if you haven't been to that before, go to that, please. It has my Twitter, which I do a lot of stuff on Twitter I just can't do here. So if I get a photograph or a video, or if I'm responding to somebody in a way that needs to be done a certain way, but I just can't get away with it here. So if you go to my link tree, which is in my bio, there's all sorts of other places that I do stuff. On my Twitter, this is kind of cool. I have a list of all the people that I've found in my journey that I think are really good both names of the people as well as some of the YouTube channels that I've found that I like. And I'm always updating it because you learn new people. There's one that I'm going to add right now that's a really good one on sort of geopolitics and stuff that does videos way better than I could ever do. So yeah, I have a list. So I've probably found 35 to 40 people that I think are really great, and they're all on the list. So you can check that out. It's just my name, Chip Barnes, on Twitter. But a lot of people will say to me, wow, you're like a different person on Twitter. And the reason is, yeah, you can be a little more sharp toned, a little more, I don't know what you call it. Like you can kind of jab people a little bit. And I think people need that. I mean, there's some really, really bad apples that are on there that are just propaganda / garbage. And they need to hear from people like us who know the truth. And so does the public, right? So kind of have an obligation to do it. So anyway, that's what I got for today. If you want to support my work, I'm doing this full time now. I mean, I'll give you an example. I do the average live broadcast on here. I'm not kidding you. I'll show you one time. I get messages like, congratulations, you've earned 12 cents. I don't know why they do it. But the other thing is, if you ever want to help out, in the bottom of my link tree are like 5 ways, Cash App, Venmo, Patreon. The Patreon is going to be pretty cool, by the way. So Patreon right now is just set up for a simple $5 a month, which is great. But we're going to be doing tiers, which tiers mean levels, so that you'll be able to get more stuff. So we're going to do like a $15 tier. I think you'll get early access to all my videos, and you'll get an exclusive live broadcast once a week that I'm only going to do for Patreon people. And then if you go to the $25 level, we're going to have a Zoom call once a week also that's going to be exclusive to just those people, and it's a full Q&A. It's just like a personal meeting. Like we can all meet up and talk about whatever. And it's really cool actually when you're having open conversations with people who you meet online, because it's just a better way it flows better. So that's coming. I just got to set it up. So if you want to help out at all, please do. There's also some things on there you can look into. There's a lot of people talking about the issues that are stopping change. We're watching what's happening in Egypt, in Israel, vis-a-vis Gaza. And why doesn't it change? Why can't we stop what we're seeing, right? There's a reason why we can't stop it, because the gears of the system are geared towards helping others and not the people who elect the people, which is what it's supposed to be, right? So a lot of people see that for what it is, and they're trying to, do something about it. Now, it's not easy, but these typical way that we go to the polls, whether it's the primary 2 parties or the third parties or whatever, it just hasn't changed a whole lot, right, about a lot of issues. There are some issues. I've had women say, what about women's rights? I said, yeah, I agree that those are issues. But in terms of the national security state, the war machine, the financial system, all these big impacts of corporations, not much has changed in a long time. And we've had Barack Obama come around, who was supposed to be this great agent of change in 2008, and nothing changed, right? That was our last great chance to bring on somebody new and fresh, and just boom, So anyway, it is what it is, but I think we have to start, if we're going to change that stuff, and a lot of people agree, there's going to have to be some other path to make a difference. So there's some people meeting on some of the groups that are on that list I just shared. If you go to my link tree, it's common sense. It's called Action for Change. So be a part of it. I mean, it's not going to happen by accident, right? We need people to get involved. So anyway, that's all I got for tonight, everybody. I really appreciate you being here. Happy holidays to those of you who celebrate. And again, I think I'll be on next at Monday at, I'm sorry, tonight's Tuesday, tomorrow. I can't go at my normal time, just to let you know. I'm going to send out a notice. I'm going to go on about 4 o'clock instead of 12 noon. So anyway, that's what I got. Thanks for being here. I appreciate it. Enjoy the rest of your day. I'll see you next time, okay? Thank you so much.